my son, Josh Watts. And Josh has been a pastor in a church for a long time and kind of got fed up with the whole churchy thing. And is not pastoring now, but has a heart for God. And I haven't heard him speak in 2 years, so it's kind of interesting. Here you are.
Wow.
I'm not real good at standing still and speaking, never have been, so I like to move around, so I will do that. And the first thing I have to do this morning, as my mom said, I spent 12 years working as a pastor in churches, and I was always the only person there with long hair, and so I'm going to let my hair down so I can feel like I'm a part of something.
Jesus had long hair.
Imagine that. I'm going to use this stand. No problem. I'll be fine. I'll be loud. I want to start off by reading you a quote that I actually found on Facebook that was sent to me. And it says this: people spend a lifetime searching for peace. They chase idle dreams, addictions, religions, even other people, hoping to fill the emptiness that plagues them. The irony is, the only place they ever needed to seek was within.
Amen, brother.
We seek peace. As human beings, we constantly are seeking peace. Something that'll make us feel okay within. And it comes in all kinds of forms. And from the music we listen to the hobbies that we partake in. I have always been one who's leaned towards the more extreme sports. Of course, I grew up playing football, and I currently still play rugby. But I have been a skateboarder since about 1985. I've been snowboarding for over 20 years, and I still attempt to surf. And a few years ago, I'm not very good at surfing, honestly. I love it. I enjoy it. Yesterday, I spent about an hour and a half sitting out there and caught maybe 6 waves, but I just enjoyed the time in the water. But in about 2008, I think it was, I was living in Topsail Island, North Carolina, which is about 30 minutes north of Wilmington. And we had a nor'easter blowing in. And they were talking about swells of waves being 12 to 14 feet high. Now, granted, I have absolutely no business even attempting to paddle out in that. But because I'm hard-headed at times and think I can do anything and you can do it, I decide that I'm going to paddle out. That morning, I drive to the beach. And at Topsail, there's dunes. If you've ever been to North Carolina coast, the entire coastline has dunes. And Hatters, and you're not supposed to walk on the dunes. So they build these bridges, basically, over the dunes. Well, that morning, when I walked over the bridge to come down, there was absolutely no beach. The ocean was smacking up against the dunes. And so when you took about 5 steps down, you stepped into the water while you're still standing in the steps. And the waves were just churning out there. Against better judgment, I decided that I'm going to go for it. So I threw my board down and started paddling. And I felt like I paddled an eternity. Have you ever had those moments, those of you who surf, you just seem to paddle and paddle and paddle and paddle. You don't feel like you're ever getting anywhere. Well, I paddled out, and I finally made it. And after catching my breath, I decided I'm sitting there waiting. I'm sitting up on my board. I'm like, well, I got to try this. And as the water starts to swell back, and I begin to paddle into this wave, I realized very quickly that I'm out of my league. As the wave begins to come up and to crest, I've lost all control, and the wave is now controlling me, and it picks me up and just loops me around, and I never even get a chance to stand up. It just dumps me upside down, and it plunges me straight to the bottom. My board hits me in my back, and I feel pinned by the pressure of the waves against the bottom. And in that moment, true fear takes over. It's a fear that I'm not sure how long I can hold my breath. How long am I going to be under here? And in that moment, you begin to search for peace, search for way out and it's a panic and you're swimming and you're trying to find bottom, trying to make heads or tails or which way's up. And I thought about that this last week as I knew I had this opportunity to share with you this morning. And I thought, that is life. It's life. There are struggles, great struggles. And I would never dare to try to compare a hobby, something to play, as something to even contend with the real issues that we face day in and day out in life. I've broken my tailbone and blew out my knees snowboarding, but they don't compare to anything that sometimes just a regular old Tuesday brings.
Amen. Yeah.
Because life is hard. And I don't know how many of you spend much time reading in the Old Testament of your Bibles, because I know sometimes it's monotonous and it's difficult, and there's a lot of things in it you just kind of think, yeah, this makes absolutely no sense. And I agree with you on that. And you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, there's so much in it," and there is, but you have to stop and take the time to read. And this past week, I've been drawn to one particular book, actually for about the last month, the book of Ecclesiastes. And I don't know if you've ever read Ecclesiastes before, but I don't know. In the last month, I've probably read it 15 times. It's only 12 chapters long. It doesn't take that long to read it. Typically on my workout sessions on the treadmill, I can read pretty much the whole book. And I've just been absorbing that. And I've been reading also the book of Job. And it's neat. A lot of people don't think about these two books and how they correlate with one another. And they're not exactly, because they're written so many times, so many years apart. And they're different authors. In fact, we're not even sure who wrote Job. I mean, there's a lot of speculations about those things. But in the book of Job, we take it, and you know the story. There's a man named Job who is very, very righteous. This man is supposedly is just untouchable in the goodness that he is, and his fever for God. And yet, this man suffers some of the greatest calamities that you could imagine. He loses his farm, loses all his animals, his children. If you read the story closely, normally we just hear that Job loses his children. According to the scriptures, it says that they are all eating together and the house collapsed on them. Wow. That's the most unluckiest thing you've ever heard of. Everyone dies and the house collapses. And this man is just distraught over it. He's facing so much stuff and just all this going on. And then he has friends around him, and these friends begin to tell him, Job, you obviously need to get your crap together because all this bad stuff is happening to you because you are letting God down. But Job knows himself that he's not. And when we read through the story, he begins to argue back and forth with God. Arguing. God, why do you do this? Why are you allowing this to happen? And doesn't this sound familiar? That the things that we face in life, and we're saying, God, why are you allowing this to happen? Because life is hard. I'm going to share with you some from Ecclesiastes. And in fact, I'm going to jump around a lot of the book. I'm going to get it up here. I'm a slave to technology, and Apple holds most of my money, it seems. We'll start with chapter 1 in Ecclesiastes. If you have a Bible, you can turn around, and if not, just remember it for later.
It's in the bulletin.
It's in the bulletin. Some of them are. I'm real bad to change things around, and I'm changing my. I don't know if you've ever read the Message, the translation of the Bible, the Message. It's not a literal translation; it's a paraphrase of the Bible. But it's a really neat way of making the Bible make sense, and I would encourage you to buy that book, the Message, and it'll help you. But in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, it says this: smoke, nothing but smoke. There's nothing to anything. It's all smoke. What's there to show for a lifetime of work? A lifetime of working your fingers to the bone. One generation goes its way, the next one arrives. But nothing changes. It's business as usual for the old planet Earth. The sun comes up and the sun goes down, and then it does it again and again. The same old round. The wind blows south, the wind blows north, all around and around it blows. blowing this way then that, the whirling erratic wind. All the rivers flow into the sea, but the sea never fills up. The rivers keep flowing to the same old place, and then they start all over and do it again. Everything is boring, utterly boring. No one can find any meaning in it. Boring to the eye, boring to the ear. What was will be again, and what happened will happen again. There is nothing new on this earth. Year after year is the same old thing. Does someone call out, hey, this is new? Don't get too excited. It's just the same old story. Nobody remembers what happened yesterday. And the things that will happen tomorrow, nobody will remember them either. Don't even count on you being remembered. That's gloomy. That's gloomy. And we read all throughout the first part of Ecclesiastes, King Solomon is writing this. And if you know anything about Solomon, he is the one who was said to be the most wise. When he prayed to God, he didn't pray for riches and he didn't pray for fame. He prayed for wisdom. For wisdom, for knowledge. The knowledge of God, the knowledge of life. That is what he prays for. And according to the scriptures, there is no one who is as wise as him. And he alludes to that as he's writing this book, and he says, I searched, and I'm trying to find meaning in life. Something to stand on, something to take hold of, something to give me peace. And he says that he began to search for this in just a party lifestyle. He says, I threw the biggest parties. I went to the greatest things. We had parties that lasted a year. Can you imagine a year? I'd get kind of bored, actually. But I don't know. I just think I would. But these parties lasting for a year. And he says within this, it was smoke. It was nothing but smoke. It was just a vapor. It was nothing. It was nothing. And he says, I created giant gardens. I built huge homes. And it brought him nothing. It was nothing. It was a waste of time. He says in the scriptures that I built all this for someone else to have. And it was nothing. And it makes you start to get kind of sad when you start to think that maybe it was nothing. Everything was nothing. What do? We just waste our time day in and day out living. We hurt. We cry. We look at our checkbook and we think, oh my goodness. How are we going to pay anything? How are we going to keep the lights on? How do we feed our kids? They have lunch money this week. And it just repeats. As he said earlier in the prayers that yesterday's troubles, but tomorrow brings new ones. There's always something happening. It doesn't seem to change. And it's easy. It's so easy as I read through what Solomon wrote as he got so beat up in that. And we look at Job and what he faced, and you just get so beat up in that, so downtrodden all the time. If you read through Psalms, you begin to think that maybe David was a little bit bipolar. Because in one verse he said, praise God, and then the next one is, why do you hate me? It's back and forth. But it's life. It's up and down. We have those moments. And I've been searching in this and thinking about this idea of peace. And where do we find peace? And how do we make sense of everything? Those of you who don't really know me, but at one point, as far as church world went, I got about as high as I could go. The last time I spoke was 2 years ago in a church setting. 2 years ago, I spoke at the university that I graduated from, that I earned my master's in. I spoke at their chapel, which is an honor to speak in that place. Only a handful of people, and most of the ones who speak there have doctor before their name. But I was given the honor of speaking there 2 years ago. And quickly how life can change. How you can go from being on top to being a what was. And it's a depressing place. It's depressing when you spend your whole life working for something, whether it's maybe it's in a career or in a marriage or on your children, and you do everything that you know how to do. You give it everything you got. and then it falls to pieces. Maybe you have some blame in that. I know I do. I carry my own guilt and my shame for things that I've done. But sometimes things happen and there's nothing you've done, and you've done everything you know how to. But something that I've realized over this last couple of years is that sometimes we have to see the worst to understand what really is beautiful, to what really matters. And that is why I love the book of Ecclesiastes, is that it begins and it's even intertwined throughout the whole 12 chapters, that life is hard. There are things going on that he says over and over again in the Message translation that life is smoke. It's nothing but smoke. It's like spitting in the wind. It gets nowhere. It repeats over and over and over and over again. And he says, what is it that we're to gain from that? In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 9 through 15, from the New Revised Standard Version, it says, what gain have the workers from their toil, from their work? I have seen the business that God has given to everyone to be busy with. He has made everything suitable for its time. Moreover, he has put a sense of past and future in their minds, yet they cannot find what God has done from the beginning to the end. We understand that there's a past and a future, but we can't really fully grasp it. I know that there's nothing better for them than to be happy, enjoy themselves as long as they live. Moreover, God's gift is that all should eat and drink and take pleasure in their work. I know that whatever God does to endures forever. Nothing can be added to it nor taken away from it. God has done this so that all should stand in awe before him. That is, already has been, that which is to be already is, and God seeks out what is gone by. We are to take joy in our struggles. Hear that. Life is a struggle. There's no way around that. There's nothing that can be said, no magic spell, no book you can read that's going to make life just suddenly easy. It is what it is, to be said. Many times when I look at just what I have to face in life, I just say, it is what it is. I have to take it what it is. I have to take the good with the bad. In Ecclesiastes, he says, and in Psalms it says again, that the rain falls on the righteous and the sinner. We all face all the same calamities, and every one of us is heading to the same place. The writers in the Jewish scriptures write of Sheol, the place of death. We're all heading to that place. There's nothing you can do to avoid it. It is what it is. Every one of us have rent to pay, or mortgage to pay, or power bill to pay, and we have to eat. And you have to work. And there's nothing you can do about it. So you learn to accept as what Solomon writes. And I think this is what is the most important. In Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verses 7 through 10, it says this. Go, eat your bread with enjoyment, and drink your wine with a merry heart. For God long ago approved what you do. Let your garments always be white, and do not let oil be lacking from your head. Enjoy life with the wife whom you love, all the days of your vain life that are given you under the sun. Because this is your portion in life, and is your work at which you work under the sun. Whatever your hands find to do, do with all your might. For there is no work or thought or knowledge or wisdom in Sheol, to which you are going. Whatever you do, do with all your might. And take pride in it, and take joy in it. Take life as what life gives. And love life. There's going to be hard times. And that is just the way it's designed. It's the way things fall apart. It has. But the Bible says, and God says, and I love this, is that go, eat your bread, and drink your wine with enjoyment. Take it in. Take in all of it. Absorb it. For that is where you will find peace. Is when you come to peace within yourself. To know that what you are doing is what it is. And don't curse away today. So many times we get up and I just hate it. I wish this day would be over. But don't curse today. Live today. Accept today. And you will find that peace that we search for. You will never find it in things outside of yourself. You will only ever be let down. Over and over and over again, let down. Because I know I'm not perfect, and I do everything in my power to love those around me. That's my personality. I try to love all the time. But I promise you that I'll let you down. I will. I know me. I've seen me do it. And so I encourage you to accept life where it is. Love your life. Seek after your God. And understand that God has given you a life and it is a gift. He's given you work and it is a gift. He's given you chores and they are a gift. Accept this gift and love this gift and take this gift as it comes. For it is what God has designed for us. I would, if you would bow your heads around, let's pray. God, we sit and we stand and we kneel before you. God, we stand in awe. The majesty and the power that you are. God, we are just empty vessels and before you. Empty souls. Souls that are searching. God, help us to see. Give us the eyes to see how you see. Give us the eyes to see that we are the peace. And we are the hope that we search for. God, thank you for the lives that we have. Thank you for the work that we have. Thank you for my job that I don't always like, and sometimes I feel like it's beneath me. Because I find myself saying, you've got way too much education for that. God, forgive me when I think of myself. Thank you for this work. Thank you for this life. Thank you for the troubles that let me know that I'm alive. God, bless these people. Bless this church as they reach and they search and they are trying to make a difference in this community for you and to change people's lives for the better. God, maybe we be a people of hope. Maybe we be a people who others look at us and say, wow, your life is a mess, but you are awful happy. God, thank you so much for your love and your grace. I can never say thank you enough. We love you. Amen. Amen.